Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 231. I have moved the Hangout from Thursday, which is my usual day, to Wednesday, which is why some people probably aren't here because they're like, what? Isn't it tomorrow? I did send out 2 messages, but sometimes people don't quite read them. And the reason I moved it to Wednesday from Thursday is because this place behind me, Hanama Bay, is where I'm going to be snorkeling tomorrow. Hanama Bay is a very protected place, for a just gorgeous place with fish and turtles. I snorkeled here many years ago. Beautiful place. They're trying to protect it now, so they only do 5 out of 7 days, and they also make you get tickets, which they didn't used to do. So I had to get up a couple days yesterday. I had to get up, be sure at 7 in the morning. I was ready to click on the computer because at 7:05 they're all gone. So I was ready, counting down and ready to hit the button. And they just sell out the tickets real quick because they're trying to lower the number of people that mess up this lovely place. If you're a Kama'ina, which means you live in Hawaii, you have a Hawaii driver's license, you can come here anytime you want and it's free. But if you're from the mainland, don't live in Hawaii, you got to go through the rigmarole. And I get it because they got too many people. But I'm one of them and I'll be there tomorrow. So I moved the show to today. And I know some of you who are in the chat room have been talking about the terrible weather back home, like my home in Maryland and your home and anywhere in the Northeast, Midwest. And I really feel sorry for you. I do. I have great empathy. but I'm here. It's so sad. I do look at the weather every day and see what's happening back in my home. But every day I have a shit-eating grin on my face. So it's you can hate me. Thank you very much, Ruth. I think I will. Oh, and you can see and hear me. Oh, thank God, because when I was setting the show up, the screen was freezing and I don't know what was going wrong. And I thought it was all going to go south. So I appreciate that. And let's see what else you'll have to say about me. Oh, poor thing. Lady Liberty Bella says, that's okay, Clarissa. I don't think I'll ever get used to Michigan. Clarissa's in Texas, so she's kind of got a little smile on her face as well. I don't think I'll ever get used to Michigan wet, winter cold, and the mess we live in. I've lived here my entire life. I'm with you because I live in Maryland, and I've lived there since 1982. And every winter I get depressed. I'm one of those people that doesn't do well in winter. And I kept saying, as my kids were growing up, and saying to my husband, as soon as these kids are growing up, I got to be out of here. I want to move to California. I want to move to Hawaii. I want any place that's warm. And in the summer, I just don't want to go through the dark. And the Maryland tends to be very rainy. And this year it's the snow was terrible. The ice was terrible. It was 10-degree weather. And I said, as soon as the kids grow up, we got to get out of here. And as soon as kids grew up, we ended up divorced, and he got out of there. He lives in California, and I live in Maryland. So life is not fair. But this year, I decided I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I decided I would do 3 months in Hawaii. And yeah, I'm suffering terribly. So, you all can feel really sorry for me. That's terrible. But, you get up every day here and you walk out and go, okay. It's warm. It's nice. The sun is out. Even if the sun isn't out, who cares? It's still warm. So, yeah. So, yeah. I haven't been missing Maryland too much, and I'm really feeling bad about that. But, yeah. Thank you. Hopefully I'll have a great I get depressed in the summer. Seriously, you hate the sweating. Well, then some people do actually love the change of seasons. They like the cooler stuff. Actually, my husband, my ex, who was from Jamaica, he always told me he loved the cold in the winter. And as soon as we divorced, he moved away and now he says when he comes by, we have family occasions. He comes back to Maryland and he says, oh yeah, I don't want to ever live in the cold again. So now he married a woman from Vietnam. So I guess he solved that problem. So hi, World Watcher. I'm doing pretty good. I am doing pretty good. So today, when I finish this, I'm going to go play table tennis. I have a coach at the table tennis club. I'll do that. And then I'm going to go on a a whale watch sunset cruise. Ah, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I like two seasons, spring and summer. I'm with you there. I like the beginning of fall. I love fall as it changes. And that's why I like to stay from I can do the summer in Maryland, even though it's hotter than hell. I'm okay with that. And then I can do the fall because it's so pretty as the change comes. And then I love to do Thanksgiving. That's when our big family get together uh, happens. And my ex is there and his new wife, who I do like, by the way. And we all get together as a family, and it's wonderful. And then I like to do Christmas with my kid, my granddaughter, my family. And then I want to get the hell out of there. It's January, February, March that suck because yeah, those are the worst 3 months in Maryland. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'll get to the news right now. So, oh wait a minute, I want to do one more thing before I get to the news, just because it was really cool. I went to see the Chinese New Year here, which was really cool. So there we are, waiting in Chinatown for the Chinese New Year. Very, very big here because there's so many Chinese on this island. And so here they come, and it was really wonderful. There's a dragon coming through, and this guy was so freaking cute. And what people hand out, they hold out money and the red envelopes with money in them, and then they stick them in the dragon's mouth, and the dragon comes along and eats all the money from everybody's hand. It's adorable. And they did have the little Hawaiian knot here with the hula dancers, and they were very, very good. So that was pretty awesome and cool, and I really enjoyed it. It was very kind of like very homey. That's all I can say. It's kind of homey in that it was. It wasn't one of those in New York and San Francisco. They're bigger festivals, but here a good portion of the island is Chinese, and they had all the Chinese organizations come out, and it was nice because it's very community oriented. I think that's the word I want to use, community oriented, and so it was very cool. So I enjoyed that, and I want to show you one other picture. What is it? If you ever come here, you should go here. This is the Ailani Palace, which is a great tour for, I think it's $25. It's totally worth it. It's about the history of Hawaii, and it's absolutely beautiful inside. I live in this palace. If I had to live in a palace, I'd live in this one. And then this is the Hawaiian Royal Band, and they're absolutely amazing. And they have the singers with it, and that's actually free. Go figure. The best thing ever on the island. So in case you're ever here, do that. And this is a favorite picture I took. This is just a cool picture. Isn't that neat? That's a pigeon. It's sitting in a tree. I just think it's a very arty, cool picture. All right. So those are my thoughts on that. And in case you're wondering, if you're new to the show and you're like, what is she talking about? Why is she not racing to crime stuff? Why is she not there? It's because this is the hangout during the week. And if you would like to be in with this wonderful group, we have Patreon. That's my Patreon group. It's $5 a month. It supports an educational channel. I do 2 lives a week. This one where it's a hangout. So I chat a little bit about different things, and then people can ask me any questions they want. Say, hey, can you talk about this case? I talk about things in the news. So that's a hangout. That's today. And then on the weekends, I always do a case show. And I do it whether it be a case in the news or a case from 100 years ago. I will do a case show, and then I will go into all the details of the evidence and the analysis. So, and it also is patron only, because for the most part, I do patron only lives because it keeps it more peaceful, shall we say. Every once in a while, I do an open live, and that's always a little bit more, you don't know who's rolling on in. Some great people roll in, and some not so great people. It can get a little out of hand. So I don't do those very often. So if you'd like to be a part of this lovely patron group, please do click the link below. It's $5 a month, but it does support an educational channel, which this is. If you don't want to do that, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications. All of my videos, once the live is over, go public. So there's nothing hidden on this channel. So I want people to learn. I want people to be educated about things. So just subscribe and watch my videos and check all the playlists, because I have playlists on whether I'm doing case show playlists or things in the news or whatever. Check it out. Okay, that's what this hangout is about. Okay, let's get to the news. Okay, we will get to the news. Hold on a second. I've lost my mind here. I'm looking for my picture. I'm looking for my pretty picture. Where'd it go? Where's my pretty picture missing? Okay, wait a minute. Oh, there it is. I got a lot of pretty pictures. So anyway, I didn't take this one. I have a lot I've taken, but this is not one of them. I just borrowed this because I haven't been there in a long time, and I cannot take this shot. Let's face it. I mean, I have to be up in the air. So, but I think Sonoma Bay is absolutely beautiful. Okay. Oh, you want to know about Mac? Okay, Mac the cat. Okay, that's the other thing we do on Hangout Day. Mac the cat is my feral cat. If you're new here, my feral cat came in to my house 2 years ago through the cat door after my other cat died, and then I started feeding him and every day and moving the food bowl further and further from the door. And after 2 years, I was able to have him come into the bedroom at night, and he would sit there and look at me, and then I get out of bed, and he used to be freaked. If I moved my finger, he used to bolt. But now I can actually just get up in front of him and sit on the floor. And I put up my hand with wet food on it, and he licks it off. And then I hold the bowl of food in my lap with the rest of the food, and he'll come and stand on my lap and eat it. But he will not let me touch him. And he's gotten used to me being in the house, so he'll go sleep. He'll go lay under the dining table where his cat bed is. And I'll show you his cat bed in case you haven't seen it. This is him, and oh, that's the cat. Well, he's sitting next to the cat bed there. Okay, here he is in his cat bed. So yeah, he's there. And while I've been gone, which for almost 3 months, I have my granddaughter feeding him once a week, and she goes in. Today is Wednesday. She's going in today. She refills the dry food bowl. She refills the water bowl, and she puts down a can of wet cat food. And then he rolls in after about 6, 7 o'clock at night when it's dark. He rolls in. Sometimes he stays for 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes he stays all night long till it's morning now. And people keep saying, oh, he misses you. And I actually don't know that he does. I mean, he might be just saying, oh, thank God the big beast isn't here. I got freedom. I got a house to myself. So anyway, he's still coming. And the funniest comment I had the other day was, Pat says it's not her cat, which is not my cat. And the person said it's not her cat, but she sets up a whole food plan while she's gone, and she puts up cat cameras so she can watch the cat. And I do every day. I come in, I click on it to see what Mac is doing. I watch what Mac walk in the house, eat his food. I watch him in the bed. Not my cat, but okay. Mac is fine. He was there last night. So, can you film his reaction when he realizes you're at home? That's going to be interesting. I'm going to leave the cat camera running when I get home because it's positioned so you can see his cat bed and you can see what he's eating. And it will be interesting to see whether he keeps the same pattern or he freaks out when I come back, because I have no idea. I have no idea if he's like super happy now because now it's his place and really he doesn't have to deal with me. Or when I come back, when I put the food back in the bedroom and put the bedroom door open, will he show up and go, oh, you're home. That's nice. I have no idea. So I don't have any illusions about, that he adores me or anything like that. That is true. So glad he has a safe, loving home to go to. It's very bitter cold. I mean, it's been so cold in Maryland. The thought of him being out there but he has been out there. Sometimes he comes in for 5 hours and then disappears for the rest of the night. I'm like, what are you an idiot? I mean, your cat bed's there. Go sleep in your cat bed. Stay warm. But yeah. Oh, he'll ignore you as he was so annoyed you left him. Maybe. Well, I'll let you all do the psychological analysis of the cat when I return. So I'll be back. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I almost blocked you accidentally. You are his person. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm just his food dispensary. I say I don't have illusions about cats. My cats howl at me when I return from vacation. It could be cat psychology. Oh yeah, doing profiling Mac. Yeah, I mean, when I had my cat that was my cat, Ziggy, when I go away for a month and I come back, he would look at me like, where the hell have you been? But then Ziggy liked to annoy the heck out of me 24 hours a day. So, his favorite cat toy was missing. So yeah, well, let's see. But anyway, let's move on. All right. So for all you new people who say, "Oh my God, why don't you just get straight to the news?" Maybe this is not the channel for you. Okay, so let's go to. I will talk a short time about the Nancy Guthrie case, and not because I'm one of these people, because I did this video recently. Stop the Nancy Guthrie reality show. Enough already. Now, a lot of people got very upset with me for that. Many people were happy about what I said, but what I said was the Nancy Guthrie. I understand it's an interesting case, and it's a case of a person, a famous person, being her daughter Savannah Guthrie, being a the Today Show person. And I think in the past I've done the Today Show a lot, so I'm pretty sure I did stuff with Savannah. I just have terrible name recall, and I have face blindness, so I'm sure I did something with Savannah. But anyway, her mother's missing. And so it's a famous person whose mother's missing. I get it. And it gets in the news. And it's an odd case because of the ransom request and because nobody knows who done did it. So I understand why it's an interesting case. It is interesting to me as well. There is a difference between being interested in a case and being a ghoul. Okay. We have, and this is what I pointed out here, that the character on the right side of the screen, and he's not the only character, shall I say, who I consider an internet ghoul, goes out and does live stuff. Just he flies out there and he's just running around with his video. He's videoing everything. He's videoing every move the police make. He's commenting on everything. He's basically causing interference to the case. He's causing people to believe things that aren't true. He throws out a lot of garbage. He doxes people. I mean, he's not a police investigator on the case. Get the hell out of there. All right. Just go away. Don't do that. And what happens when he does that is it riles people up. People get very invested, very excited, and they all think they're investigators too, which I will say 99.99% of you are not. You're people sitting in your home who know nothing about investigations, profiling, or this case. So you're no use at all. That's a fact. I'm not even much of a use. The only use I can do is just to tamp this down a wee bit, get people to understand the facts of it, and have people just understand it so they don't go crazy. The police, when you do this kind of crap, and I've seen this also done, which I pointed out on major media, certain shows, I'm just not going to point people out. They get on there and they go, "Come on, we got to help the police. Everybody. You can't help the police if you don't know who that guy was who did it. That's it. You don't know. If you're this is an Arizona case. If you're living in Tennessee, you're living in Maine, you're living in California, you know crap about this case or the people involved, unless you happen to have a cousin who lives 1 mile from Nancy Guthrie's house and has always been a psycho. You might be the one person in California who's useful. The rest of you people are useless to the police. And what happens is everybody's got nuts and they're calling the police with massive amount of tips. And what happens then is you got the one tip that's good and you got these thousands of tips, which are complete garbage. And then people say, why aren't they investigating every tip? Well, because you inundated them with garbage. Can you imagine that? Let's say you're looking for something in your home. You lost your ring. And a whole bunch of your neighbors came in and tossed into your house a whole bunch of junk jewelry they had around and filled up your house to the ceiling with junk jewelry. And then they go, "Why haven't you found your ring?" "Well, maybe because you're screwing me over here. Maybe because you messed my house up and overwhelmed me." So the police, they need good tips. They don't need garbage tips. They don't need the psychics calling. They don't need, "Oh, I think that guy's guilty." People would actually call the police to tell them their analysis of the case. I have never called the police to do that. I'm a profiler. I might have a good analysis. I leave it here on the channel. I do an analysis and I leave it here. Do the police ever watch my show? Probably not. It's not my place. I'm not on that team. Would I like to be on that team? Sure. If they called me up and said, Pat Brown, we love your, I happen to watch your show. I think you're a great an analyst. I'd love you to come and take a look at the evidence we have. Yes, I'd be happy to do that. And I have done that over the years, worked with police departments. But if I'm not invited in, I'm not invited in. But of all the people out there who think they have good analysis of the case, I'd be one of the better ones to invite in. Not all your tips rolling in from everywhere. Oh my God, I know it's the son-in-law. He did it. Why? Oh, because he dropped his mother-in-law off at her house. Therefore, he's a bad guy. Based on what? And then they're like, oh, we haven't seen son-in-law for weeks. If I were that son-in-law, why would I be showing up for you guys? I don't owe you any explanation. All I owe is the police an explanation. Talk to the police. I was the last person who dropped her off, last person who saw her. Of course I want to talk to the police. That's all. That's the only person that matters. And then, the only people he needs to talk to is the police, not y'all. And the other thing that happens, when I say you all, I don't mean my patrons who are smarter than most people. That's why you're here. Anyway, I'm talking about the general public. That he hasn't shown up in public. I think back to this. Let's say when I was married, my mother was murdered. I have two sisters. I can imagine that I would show up with my two sisters. Now, we were all married. Let's say we were all married at the time, which if my mother was killed at 70 years old, we would have all been married at the time. So I take it back. 50. I'm sorry, God, how long I've been divorced. I've been divorced 25 years. Let's go back. When I was 50 years old, we were all married. Do you think that our husbands want to show up on camera and sit there? The sons-in-laws? Probably not. I look at my ex and I'm thinking, there's no way he would want to sit on camera. He would feel so out of place and awkward. It's not his mother. It's my mother. And he'd be sitting there going, oh yeah, I'm her husband. I can't see any, and every one of our husbands were very different kinds of people. I think none of them would have sat on camera. None of them. So, sons-in-laws don't necessarily do that kind of stuff. And because they're not actually the actual children of the person who's been murdered. Now, if I were murdered, who would I expect to show up on camera? My three children, my daughter and my two sons. I have one son-in-law live next door to me. I don't expect him to show up on camera either. I'm his mother-in-law. I just think he was out of place to do that. So all of the, oh my God, the son-in-law, he hasn't been seen. Poor dude. Now, what I did say is, should the police look at him as a person of interest? Absolutely. Why? Because they have to. Not because they necessarily suspect him, but it's due diligence. They have to look at the last people that saw her, which would be the Uber driver and him, and Annie, the daughter, because she went to dinner over there. They have to look at them, and they also live close by. Do they have to look at Savannah? Because some people think Savannah planned to murder her mother because she wasn't doing well on TV and wanted to up her image. So she killed her mother off just so she could improve her image. Get out of here. But would the police take a look at the possibility, like even if it's 1%? Sure. I, as a profiler, would everybody is a suspect or a person of interest, Everybody's a person of interest until I can eliminate them. Doesn't mean I think they did it. Doesn't mean they're high on my list. It's just that I haven't eliminated them yet. And because it's an odd crime, I have to go through everything. So the police do have to look at everyone, including the son-in-law and the daughters and all this kind of crap. But there's a difference between professionally looking at them and being a freaking ghoul and pointing fingers saying, oh, I know the son-in-law did it, and this is Annie did it. It's just disgusting. Oh, and then these internet YouTubers going over there and saying, oh, look, the police are over at Annie's house. That means they're thinking they're about to arrest her. No, they might be over there talking to them because guess what? She's the daughter of the victim. Oh my God, imagine that. Stupid shit. So anyway, I'm gonna read a little bit and then I'm gonna go to your comments on this. The Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, who's gotten absolutely trashed by everybody because they don't well, sometimes sheriffs, I'll say this, sometimes sheriffs should have a public relations person speak to the public and not do it themselves, because that's not something that they're necessarily good at. Sometimes they're like, you're like, oh, okay, dude, stop talking. You might be a good sheriff, but you're not really a good public relations person. I have said that before. But regardless, the attacks on him, that he's doing a bad job, horrible. Why didn't you call the FBI in earlier? Well, most police departments don't like the FBI showing up on their turf. They'd rather them not be there. So that's normal. The FBI is necessarily like the greatest investigative group ever. It's not. A lot of times, FBI comes in, does a bunch of crap, and leaves, and doesn't solve the case. They're very good with their labs are very good. That's where their tops are. Sometimes they're good at hostage negotiations, things like that. So there may be a reason to bring the FBI in for the skill set that they're good at, but that doesn't mean that the police aren't doing their job. And just because it didn't solve it in 7 days doesn't mean they're not doing their job. Maybe they are doing their job. And what they're not doing is accusing people who didn't do it. So anyway, right now, the whole recent thing was on the gloves. DNA analysis. DNA on gloves found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's Arizona home do not have any matches in the national database known as CODIS, and they don't match any DNA found in Guthrie's home. What does that mean? And I'm going to ask you, because this is a profiling channel, it's educational. I'd like you all to jump in and try to come up with the concept of why. What does that actual information mean? Because what you're going to hear from now on out in the Guthrie reality show is every channel coming up with a whole bunch of bullcrap about this, including the major media nonsense stuff. So, oh yes, people have actually suggested Savannah would benefit. She doesn't need to benefit. She's been in television forever. She makes a frickload of money. She's very popular. She's got no reason to do that. She's gonna have her own mother kidnapped so she can become more popular. Get out of here. It's just stupid. Yeah, let's not go into trashing the different people, but sometimes it's hard not to. I get that, but let's not go there. Just pointing out the entire circus. That is also true. Some people don't realize FBI agents are people and make mistakes too. There's a really great FBI agent I'm real impressed with. On the other hand, I have dealt with the FBI on a case which was been a long time, the anthrax case. I think I did a show on this, as a matter of fact. I start forgetting. I got 1,000 shows out here. I was on television and I talked about the anthrax, the suspect, the possibilities of the anthrax suspect. And after I did the show, I went to my mailbox, UPS box, because I never sent anything to my home. So I went there and I picked up this envelope, and it was addressed to me and was addressed to the area somewhat close to where the whole anthrax deal was happening. And I opened the letter in my car, and then I opened up the envelope, I pulled out the letter, and then I realized that this could be the anthrax guy responding to my commentary. And I'm like, because I'm in my car. I'm like, what a stupid thing I've done. I thought, oh my God, I'm dead. And it was a really weird letter with a fake address and commentary in it, which was very concerning. I actually tracked down the guy who sent the letter, and he was in biology at a major university, and his girlfriend was also involved, and they lived near she was near the mailbox where the original anthrax letter was sent out. And it was the guy was creepy as hell. And I went to the FBI with it, and I said, look, I got this letter after I did the show, and I figured they were going to investigate this stuff. I ended up going up to that university, and I went into his department where he came from, and I said, I told him, I'm criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I would like to talk to you. And I was very well received. And I sat down in the office with a woman who was the boss of the guy who sent the letter, the fake letter. Well, fake letter or the real letter? Well, he did send the letter. Let me put it that way. He did send the letter. Whether he was the anthrax guy or not was the question. I said, well, when the FBI came up here, and she said, oh, the FBI had never been here. I'm like, are you kidding me? The FBI never came on this information I gave them that a guy from your department who's in biology, who had access to the ability to make the anthrax, and so did his girlfriend, and wrote this bizarre letter with all kinds of weird political shit in it. They didn't show up and even talk to you? And the answer was no. I could not believe it. I was absolutely shocked. Now, I'm not saying the guy did it. I'm just saying, because they came up with a different guy, which I'm not convinced about. So you have to watch my anthrax video. If I remember, I'll link it below. But they did not even follow up on something that was a legitimate tip. Absolutely 100% legitimate tip. It wasn't just anybody. It was a person that had access to the mailbox the anthrax letters were sent out of and was a biologist. And was a psychopath. What a, who does that stuff? And she said he's a weird ass guy. And the stuff she told me, one of the things in the anthrax things was through a letter that went down to a National Enquirer, I think. She told me that guy had a subscription to the National Enquirer. What guy has a subscription to the National Enquirer? It was a great suspect. And I'm not saying he did it, but I still question that he didn't. I still question that he might have done it. But the FBI never followed up on it. So yes, the FBI is not the end all of anything. So all it takes is one agent to go, yeah, probably not, and throw it in, just file it or put it in the circular bin, So I had known some great FBI agents, and I've known some ones I'm really questioning, and it's a big organization. So just because, and I'm not fond of the FBI profiling methodology, so I'm not fond of their behavioral science unit at all. So they don't need to roll in on every freaking case. They have abilities to help with certain cases. So there's that. Let's go down here. Okay, so we're going to the DNA issue. No criminal record or criminal after DNA law is put into effect. So they found some gloves with some DNA. And it's not the DNA is not in CODIS. Yes, that means the person may not have ever committed a crime to the level that they got DNA from him. Or it was a time when DNA wasn't put in there. Now, the guy's pretty young. So if he committed a crime, the guy that we see in the video, at least, that one person, I think there's more than one person, but okay, the guy in the video, he's young enough that he either hasn't gotten into the database, but it's not like he could escape it because of his age, being older and doing really early crimes and never have it, collected. No, I would say that, so that's one possibility. His DNA isn't even in CODIS because he's never been caught in a crime that required DNA to be taken from him. That's one. That's one good one. Come up with another one. Okay, there we go. There's another one Allison came up with. It means the glove has nothing to do with the crime. Yeah. Who says that glove has anything to do with the crime? Now, could it? Yes, but maybe not. So that's another problem. That if you scrub around long enough in scrubby areas, you'll be surprised about the amount of crap you can find. One of the problems they have in some crime scenes is that when, let's say, a girl is murdered and raped and murdered, and her body's dumped at a dump site, where people dump stuff, or teenagers hang out and have sex. They're like 50 condoms on the ground. It's like, good luck, So we don't know why that glove was there. We don't know that it was the glove that was used in the crime. It's a glove. It could have nothing to do with the crime whatsoever. So that's important. It can't be linked to the crime. And here's another thing. Maybe it is the glove. It is the glove that was used in the crime, but his DNA isn't in CODIS. So they got a glove that may be or may not be one of the perpetrators of the crime, but they, at this point, just don't know. And that's why it doesn't work like television, because just because you have some evidence doesn't mean that the evidence is something you know exactly what it means at this point. It could mean something, it could mean nothing. So let's see, what else? Okay, please stop with the racial stuff. Absolutely garbage. Please don't go there. Okay, I'm going to just tell you that right now. It has nothing to do with anything. Okay, it does not. It's nonsense. Okay. So scary. Are you afraid? Are you scared any criminal today will take offense to a video made and go after you? I've done it before. I've done it for many years. Could it happen? Sure. For the most part, they don't need to bother. And actually, a lot of like a lot of serial killers like me. A lot. I've had letters from certain serial killers. What's his name from Washington? The Happy Face Killer. He wrote me, "Hi Pat," because serial killers like me because I understand them and they think I'm cool. And if they don't think I'm an actual threat to them, they're not going to come out and knock me off. Um, it's not international. No, it is not. She did live close to Mexico, so that is a problem. It could be DNA from somebody from outside the country. Was not touched. Oh yeah, it's touched. Yes, it is touched DNA. It could be a glove one of the contractors or cleaners use. Absolutely. And so yeah, it could be. This is an area where I don't know how many people use gloves and doing things, but it could be anybody doing any kind of thing that they wear gloves for. So that's why it's not absolute that the glove had anything to do with the crime. And it is touch DNA, but touch DNA is okay if the touch DNA is in a place where it shouldn't be. Let's say this. I'll get to the issue about DNA being where it shouldn't be in just a second on the next case. I'm going to talk about the Baker case because the jury is still locked and can't figure out whether the guy they have Tara Baker case, and that's a DNA case for sure, is guilty or not guilty. That's a good point, Cauliflower. It's important to look into these, but Yahoo shouldn't go on a witch hunt once the person is identified. It could be there for another reason. Exactly. That's the whole problem. People aren't listening to just know the news or to be educated. They're obsessed with the case. They're doing a reality show. And I've had people write me or comment on my video, but we care about Nancy. You shouldn't tell us you shouldn't care about Nancy. What the hell you don't even know Nancy. You never heard of her before the murder, not the murder, before the abduction. You never even heard of her. You knew of Savannah. You never heard of Nancy. You've never met Nancy. And why don't you care about the elderly people in your town? Are you delivering food to the homebound? Are you spending time with these lonely older people who are sitting in their places would love to have company? Are you doing that? Do you care about any of them? Oh no. You only care about a famous person's mother disappearing, and suddenly you're like best friends with Nancy. Get out of here. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. And so people are getting involved in that way. Then they're spreading rumors. They're spreading gossip. They're pointing fingers at people, and they're interfering with the police investigation. That's my problem. Not that you don't want to be educated or just know something. I mean, it's an interesting case. There's nothing wrong with them just basically reporting on it. This report here about the gloves came from CNN. I'm not saying I'm going to back CNN and all the shit they're putting out there and all the people, talking heads coming on saying stuff that they shouldn't be saying and saying things like, okay, come on, fellas, let's solve this case. If you're doing that in your profession, you're telling the public to solve this case, shame on you. You know damn well they're not going to solve the case unless they actually know the perpetrator. And all they're going to do is interfere with the police investigation with massive amount of tips. Stop doing that. But here's a little more from this. This part is reasonable. Because the sheriff has said this, and the sheriff, when he gives information out, that's when we should say, okay, this is what the police want us to know. The police don't want us to know all the rest of this garbage. The police want us to know this. So they're letting us know at this point, those gloves do not match anybody in CODIS, so they can't solve the case instantaneously like everybody would like. It also says it doesn't match DNA found in the Guthrie home. Now, that's a little confusing, and you should explain that. DNA in the Guthrie home doesn't mean the DNA in the Guthrie home has a damn thing to do with the abduction, because she has people coming in there and working. It could be a house cleaner. It could be a friend. It could be a kid who came over with a grandkid who came over with grandma and is touch all crap because kids like to do that. It could be child DNA. It's meaningless unless the DNA they get from the home shows up in CODIS. And when it shows up in CODIS, the guy's got a criminal record a mile long. Then it becomes interesting. Okay, then it becomes meaningful. But just because there's DNA in the home doesn't make it meaningful unless it is. Just because you find a glove doesn't make it meaningful unless it is. So they should explain that better. My problem with a lot of the reasons sheriffs, when they explain things, they don't explain well. It's just not one of their talents often. Then it says family are not suspects. Nancy Guthrie's adult children and their spouses are not suspects. In her February 1st disappearance from her home, the sheriff said, calling any suggestion otherwise cruel. He also said they were cleared. What does cleared mean? People don't understand this. Cleared, in my opinion, is there's no way on God's earth they could have committed the crime. That means they were in the ICU. They're dead. They're in prison at the time of the crime. It doesn't mean they couldn't have hired somebody, by the way. So they physically couldn't have committed the crime. They could have, anybody can hire somebody and still be involved in the crime. It has to be, the alibi for that person has to be rock solid, that there's no way they physically could have committed the crime. That's how you clear somebody. If you don't have a rock solid alibi, and the rock solid alibi isn't my wife said I was home, my mommy said I was home. No, that's garbage. My best friend said I was at his house. No. Okay. Rock solid in the ICU, in prison, on the pulpit giving a sermon, out of the country completely. Those are rock solid alibis. Barring that, clearing somebody should not be done until it is proven they absolutely did not do the crime. They should remain as low-level persons of interest, not suspects, but low-level persons of interest. If you think they alibi looks like they could be, like they have people say, oh, they were home at the time. Okay, you can't quite clear them, but you could maybe lower their level of person of interest. Let's say they went and bought Jack in the Box, and they got a receipt for the time they bought Jack in the Box, but there's no video of him buying the Jack in the Box. If there's a video of him buying Jack in the Box time of the crime, that is an alibi. Having a credit card use of buying Jack in the Box tacos is not, because somebody else could have used your card and be buying the tacos while you're off killing them. So you have to be just very careful. But he's saying otherwise, but suggesting that they're guilty is cruel. It's horrific. And that really bugs me, because yes, sometimes family members kill family members, but can you imagine just being maybe Annie and her husband are just nice people who live close to mom, and they're kind enough to make sure that mom isn't isolated. They invite her over, they have her for dinner, they play games with her, they take care, help make sure she's okay. And now they're being accused of being killers for her money. I mean, that's just sick. Stop doing it. That the police must investigate them is a requirement of the job. Doesn't mean that person's guilty of anything. And that's what people need to get through. They also say no leading theory. Authorities have said they believe the 84-year-old mother of Today anchor Savannah Guthrie was removed from the home against her will, which is pretty damn obvious. But investigators still have no leading theory about motive. And that's a reasonable thing to say. And to me, what does it look like? It does to me look like an abduction. I don't see it as, it doesn't look like a home invasion gone wrong. It doesn't look like, I don't see a revenge killing in there. I do think it looks like an abduction, that somebody had a wild idea that, hey, we could abduct her and maybe make some money. Some people are not that bright who commit crimes. Other people in the field, my field, have said, oh, absolutely, it doesn't look like an abduction, and definitely it looks like some personal thing. I don't see that, and I think it may be a little, again, pointing at family members makes me a little uncomfortable when there's not anything. Don't qualify by saying it's one possibility, but certainly there are others. And so the sheriff is doing the right thing. It's no leading theory. Well, it doesn't mean he doesn't have that doesn't mean there aren't numerous theories and avenues of investigation. He's just not willing to say this is the one, and for good reason. And then it says, and then of course they have the tip line, which they have to put up there. They probably despise the damn tip line at this point. They want a tip, but they don't want garbage, which is what most of tips are. And when people say they want to investigate why did they investigate every tip? Because most of them are garbage. absolute garbage. And it's despicable that anybody who doesn't have real information will call the police and give them garbage. You know, oh, my ex-husband, he now lives in Oklahoma, but my ex-husband, he I think he killed what? You know, stop it already. Yeah, he wasn't even in Arizona. You just don't like him. You know that kind of nuts, and all the psychic crap that comes in. It's just it's that's interference with the police investigation. Then, but they can't charge anybody, so it's just a pain. Yeah, only reason I say Jack in the Box tacos because here in Hawaii they got more Jack in the Box than I've ever seen any place. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, so my sister who's down in Florida said you got to go try one of those tacos because we used to eat them as teenagers and they were good at the time. And I went and tried it. And I wasn't impressed, but my tastes have changed. So, thank you very much. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid comments online, and again because it's open to the public commentary, and then people you're just going to get a lot of that, for sure. Well, okay, so is are people taking advantage of TMZ because somebody just making claims? I don't know. See, this is where I'm very willing, unlike some professionals, to say I don't know. I don't know what the police know. I'm not on the inside of the investigation. I haven't seen these ransom requests. I don't know how they contacted TMZ. I don't know all the details. TMZ, I thought it was odd that somebody contacted TMZ because TMZ is a very, in my opinion, a total crap gossip channel. Okay, and it's mostly younger people than myself, the 20, 30, maybe 40-year-old range. So if the ransom is real, why did they contact TMZ instead of sending it to the family? Again, I don't have enough information. I think it is odd. And maybe means it's a complete fake. On the other hand, maybe it means that they have some obsession with TMZ. Because a lot of times what people don't understand is that people who do things like this aren't necessarily clever, smart. They just want the ransom stuff. Maybe they're into themselves. They think everything is cool. They want to be this, like a mass murderer wants to go and kill everybody just because he thinks that makes him a hero. Ha ha ha, I'm going to be in all the news reports. My name is going to be out there. Finally, pay attention to me. That may be what this is. Maybe the guy just wants attention. Maybe it's just a cool thing to do. Okay, let's kidnap. She's got a lot of money. I mean, look at her daughter, Savannah. Wow, she's famous. Why don't we kidnap this woman? And then we'll go to TMZ and ask for a ransom. And whoa. Maybe that's all they're doing. We don't know. Can you explain how these people outside the house and stuff are interfering with the investigation because their followers don't think they're interfering? Oh no, the followers just adore them. I say they have every right. They're just doing great reporting. What they're doing is they are covering every one of the police moves, which right there is interfering with the investigation. The police do not want everything they do to be reported to the public because the whole point of it is that they can do their investigation preferably behind a screen, because they don't want the perpetrators to see everything they're doing. They don't want people commenting on everything they're doing and misconstrue, just what happens, people look at that, let's say if they go over to Annie's house, everybody's like, oh my God, they're going to go arrest Annie. If they check out the neighborhood, they're like, oh, this is what, so the commentary gets out of hand. It goes on to major media. It goes into X. They start harassing the police department. It interferes with the investigation. It doesn't allow them to do their investigation in peace and be able to focus on that with all this ridiculous crap going on around them. And sometimes when the crap goes on around them, again, all the erroneous tips come in off of that. Just a lot of pressure that's unrealistic. Sometimes they dox people, and so then therefore people are being harmed that are in the area of the investigation. The whole point is nobody needs to know what the police are doing. They do not. It's not people think that, we have a right to know every step the police are making. Why aren't they doing a press conference? Because it's none of your damn business. Quite frankly, it's not your job. They're doing their job. It's not your job to oversee every step that they make. it isn't. They don't I personally would like to see almost nothing out there in general. And people say, well, that Pat, somebody called me a vulture. They're like, well, you're on YouTube and all that stuff. I'm trying to explain things to tamp down the nonsense. I try to explain things so people understand things educationally, not because I'm trying to ratchet up a whole bunch of views and get everybody involved and come on, guys, we're going to solve this case. That nonsense. That interferes with a police investigation. So, but yeah, people love being involved. They want to spend all this time following certain people on the internet. They'll just watch them all day long and say they care about Nancy, and it's just garbage. I mean, if you really care about 84-year-olds, get out there in your damn community, because there's a whole bunch of 84-year-olds, sad 84-year-olds, lonely 84-year-olds, hungry 84-year-olds. You don't give a shit about them. If, you don't. You only care about somebody you you don't know, and it's all because it's a reality show for you, and you find it exciting, and that's a reality. Yes, they don't owe the public anything yet. Have I commented on certain handling of cases by law enforcement? Later on, yes. I let them do their stuff. Sometimes you do have to have some kind of oversight, because sometimes there's been a few cases where I've worked where the law enforcement is not exactly ethical. A Superbikes case, South Carolina, Sheriff Wright, who was sheriff wrong. That guy's a lying dog, and he got a plea deal who didn't commit the crimes of Superbikes. I will comment on that because ethically, I know the truth because I worked on the case inside. I know he's a liar, and I will stand up and say that. That doesn't get me, believe me, that doesn't get me fans, because everybody loves the fact he caught the Superbike killer. Todd Colehep. He's not the Superbikes killer. I guarantee that. Everything that stuff is a lie. His confession was a lie. It didn't match the evidence. They still owe me $900 on a FOIA request where they never sent me what they told me they'd sent me. He got out in public and lied on camera that I knew nothing about the case. I didn't read on the internet, even though I was inside the sheriff's department for an entire week looking at every shred of the evidence, at least, and I saw the problem with the case. And I didn't even go public with that until he lied about me. So I was still willing to let them. I turned in my profile of the case, my analysis, and said, this is who I think committed the crime. This is my top suspect. And this is how the crime actually went down. This is how the shots were fired. This is how the ammunition was used. This is how it all went down. I laid it all out. And I went away. I was going to let them do their job. And then he came out and claimed somebody did it who I know didn't do it. And at that point, I was willing to speak up publicly, which I did because I thought I should speak up publicly. Because if I didn't, I felt rotten for not doing it because nobody knew the truth. And so I spoke up. Done me a lot of good, let me tell you. And so I didn't do it for clicks. That wasn't the point. I just wanted to speak up because I knew they had the wrong guy in there and the real guy was out there. So I will speak up against the police department later on when I think they haven't done the job. Or I'll say they meant well, but they needed more training. I'll say things like that. But I'm not gonna like jump all over and do all this crap that we see going on today. It's just really sad. Okay. Moving on. That was long. I didn't intend to do that much length on that issue, but it really does bug me. It really does. I want to talk about the Tara Baker thing. Tara Baker, I talked about her last week. It's an old case. And Tara, where's Tara? Here's Tara. Okay. Oh, sorry. That's Tara Baker. And what happened with the Tara Baker case? Hold on a second. I got to find my information here. Well, it was this was the statement. Tara Baker trial, DNA evidence links two men. The two men. So what happened was she was murdered back in, I saved this one. Let me see if I can just pull up the basics on the case because I just want to give you the time frame. She was murdered in her apartment, raped and murdered. And then the guy set fire to the apartment. It was a mess. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. I'm a happy camper. Okay. Let me tell you how this went down. Whew. All right. The murder was in 2001. And the 2001 killing of Baker remained an unsolved cold case for more than 20 years. Until 2024, when they announced an arrest in the case. They arrested a guy named Edric Lamont Faust. And they charged him with 12 felonies: malice, murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, aggravated sodomy, burglary, tampering with evidence, and first-degree arson. Now, the defense. So what happens? They arrest this guy. Why did they arrest the guy? Because when there was modern technology for DNA, they went back to the rape kit that was done on her, and they found this guy's DNA in her mouth and in her vagina. They also found her boyfriend's DNA. So what he had been cleared as a suspect early on because he was not in the area. He was working at the time. His boss said he was on the job, and the boss can lie for people. That can happen. But there was sufficient reason to believe that the police believed that his alibi was solid, and they did not do it. And so they did not further investigate him, but they couldn't figure out who did. And so this just laid there, for years. And then they did this, reopened the case, or went back and looked at the DNA because of the new technology, and came up with this guy, Edric Lamont Faust. Now, the defense has been arguing, and I'm going to tell you what the defense was, and what was driving me crazy, because I'm beginning to think, oh my God, this jury is, I don't love the jury system, because a lot of times I feel like they don't understand things. And I'm going to say this is probably going to eventually turn into an appeal, but let me find the one. Okay, so this is what the defense, a good portion of people on Reddit think that they had that the boyfriend did it. They said he was, they didn't like the boyfriend. Oh, I think he didn't tell the truth about this, and blah, 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 blah. And I don't believe his alibi, and so on and so forth. I think he killed it because they were breaking up. Nobody said they were breaking up, but that's what the defense is claiming. So they're going with that. And so they're like, this is the biggest injustice ever if they find this guy guilty. Reddit is 100% boyfriend is guilty. And this guy that they just picked out of the air with DNA is not guilty. So this person says, I just don't see any evidence that puts Faust there. They cannot even explain the DNA in her mouth. It seems more likely a mix-up with the labs. And yet Melton, that's a boyfriend's DNA, and hair is all over the place, and his, quote, alibi was never verified. It's much more likely a boyfriend than a stranger. And this other next person goes, yes, the murder seems so personal. As I said, overkill. And this person said, I don't think the state did enough to explain the fire damage this person's saying the fire damage destroyed a lot of the evidence. Well, that's one reason they'll find everybody's fingerprints. Somebody said the arguments online are, quote, he was her boyfriend. Of course, his DNA is in her anus mouth, forgetting that he said multiple times that it had been 10 days since he last saw her. Only when the detectives urged him to change his story was it that it was not possible, that not possible for his DNA to still be in her. He said it was 5 days and still a stretch. Are we under the assumption Tara didn't brush her teeth the whole time? Blah, blah, blah. So basically saying that they did not prove that Faust did it. This poor schmuck, that they found his DNA at the scene, and the prosecution's case is his DNA was in her mouth and in her vagina, and he didn't have any explanation why it should be there. But now people are saying, oh, well, maybe they hooked up. Maybe they hooked up, and they had some quick sex somewhere, and he just doesn't remember her. All right. She was in a relationship. She was in the library. She wasn't in a bar. She was in the library when she came home and was attacked. Faust, and this is not a racial thing. She's white, he's black. So that's one of the reasons people think that it's just people are just being racist about this. Can white women go to a bar and pick up a cute black guy and have sex with him? Sure. Is that wrong? If they're okay with that, it's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Could she have done that? Absolutely. His DNA could be there innocently. However, that there's no evidence she ever picked him up from a bar. That she was no near, and he didn't remember her. So I mean, so why is his DNA there? And let's look at it. So this person finally came in on Reddit and said, "Hey, come on now. I want to address a few misconceptions. Tara's whereabouts the night before are well documented. She was not out on the town or socializing. She was studying with a friend at the law library. All the hairs were tested. Oh, they said she had hair in her hand that was not African American. All the hairs were tested. The hairs in her hand were her own, which is 100% normal. When somebody starts strangling you and you're trying to get their hands off of you, you pull your own hair out. So a lot of times you have your own hair in your hand. So the defense was not bringing. So these people are saying, oh my God, she's got this blonde hair in her hand. So therefore it's not the guy who killed her. That's because it's not his hair, it's her own, you morons. Okay, anyway. They've also found several other people's hair on her body as well, all of which are people known to be in the house. The house was carpeted, and the carpet had lots of different hairs in it, including her own father's, which was transferred to her body, which was naked, lying on the floor. This could include pubic hairs found. The fire and water used to put out the fire destroyed a lot of evidence, as the killer intended. A killer's smart. When you set a place on fire, it's not necessarily the fire that does the damage. It's putting out the fire that does the damage. The water just destroys a lot of stuff. So he's got a very criminal mind, shall we say. The reason that this trial was focused so heavily on Chris Melton, the boyfriend, is because of the defense. Their entire strategy is put forth that he did it to take the focus off their client and the lack of explanation for DNA evidence. Chris Melton was a prime suspect in the investigation for years and was treated as a prime suspect. No truth to the idea that he was dismissed. They actually did look into him very heavily. Then it goes on. Okay. Melton's alibi was verified. He was 50 minutes away at the time it happened. Now, the DNA evidence was extracted from a mixture of DNA using new technology. Faust DNA had been encoded for decades. Oh, you know why? Because the guy's got a criminal record a mile long. That's why. The guy's a complete criminal creep. Okay. So he was already in CODIS, but they didn't have the technology to match him. So when they did match him, so they were able to match him through that, and they did the swabs. So we're not talking about touch DNA. Again, that could be something moved, from somebody who could have, theoretically, Faust could have been, I don't know. He could have been walking down the street and said, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, do you want this pamphlet?" And she touched the pamphlet, and his DNA went from the pamphlet to her hand. And it's on her. No, it's not touch DNA. It's in her mouth and it's in her vagina. That's not touch DNA. Okay. So there was nothing to support the idea that Faust and Baker knew each other or had ever crossed paths, much less had consensual sex. Faust claims to have never met her or known her at all. During his initial questioning, he stated that he would never even go over there, meaning that the new neighborhood had been built as student housing bordering on his neighborhood, which was older and predominantly Black. The unfortunate truth is that Athens, Georgia at the time, I think it's Georgia, is still socially segregated today, and it was even more so 25 years ago. It would have been very unlikely for them to go to the same bars or have a casual social encounter. They were literally living in two different worlds, a block apart. So now, did you hear that last thing? A block apart. So the guys, so they find this DNA. Now the defense was trying to claim that it was a lab mix-up. Somehow, other guy's DNA got linked to her case. But interesting enough, he only lives a block away from her. I'm like, if you get DNA from a guy who lives on the other side of the country who's never been in the location, you could say there was some kind of weird lab mix-up. But when it turns out to be a guy who's just down the street, you can pretty much assume that that's correct. Now, there also his DNA. They weren't testing his DNA anywhere near that lab. So there's no way that his DNA was going to get into that lab. So the DNA that they had from him was from him, not from some lab test that was happening nearby. It was from him. And the person it was from was already in CODIS and lived a block away from her. So there's some other. So then what happened was, then we heard about jury deliberates and no verdict was reached. And this is where I was starting to get really annoyed. Third week, they were on their third week trying to understand this case. The third week of the Tara Baker murder trial began early Monday with jury deliberation. They stayed, Okay. So yeah, it was 3 weeks out. They couldn't, somebody at least on that jury couldn't make up their mind. So it would have taken a professional jury less than 24 hours to determine that this guy was guilty as hell. Because there's no other explanation for why this career criminal's DNA who showed up in her mouth and vagina when he lived just a block away. There is literally no other way. So, and there's no evidence the boyfriend had anything to do with it. That's just defense fictionalizing. So a professional jury would have just put this away quickly. If it takes 3 weeks, it means some of these people on the jury are like those people in Reddit. Oh, well, maybe there's other, because they don't understand how things work. And so I'm thinking they're going to find this guy not guilty unless, and then here's what they also do, which drives me crazy in a civilian jury system. Sometimes the judge will say, you guys got to go and figure it out. You got to come to a conclusion together. So you're basically telling the larger group of the jury to bully the other people into agreeing with them. You shouldn't have to bully anybody into it to a verdict. That's ridiculous. I mean, if I believe the person's not guilty and I change it to guilty just because I want to go home, that is not justice. And if I believe he's not guilty, I really he's guilty, and everybody wants me to say he's not guilty, I'm not. You shouldn't be bullying me into it. Finally, I say, okay, fine, have it your way, which is what the judge sometimes tells the jury to do: bully those people, because we all want to go home. So anyway, amazingly enough, maybe after some bullying, maybe by the people who thought he was guilty, trying to probably bully the non-guilty group into finally agreeing, which I'm sure is going to turn into an appeal. But anyway, a Clark County jury has found a man guilty of all charges in connection with the 2001 murder of the University of Georgia law student Tara Louise Baker. The guilty verdict finally took place at 3 p.m. Let's see. That's all they're saying. There's going to be 10 appeals on this case. The Innocence Project will probably roll in now and say the guy, there were no eyewitnesses, there was no fingerprints, there was no this, there was that. The jury was misled, blah, blah, blah. And it'll turn to an Innocence Project thing. And one day we'll hear that this poor guy, didn't actually, they found some technical reason to get him out. And then everybody will cheer him and he'll get a $10 million payout from the state. That's my prediction. See if I'm right. The desire to exclude evidence that doesn't confirm the bias, but just to make things up for which there's no evidence. Yeah, well, the defense does this. I mean, this is one of the things I have problems with defense attorneys. I have no problem with a good defense. I have a problem with creating fiction to confuse the jury. I don't think it has anything to do with justice or defending. I think that is one of the flaws of our system, which is why I want a professional jury system, because you can't pull that crap on me. You start making up stuff. I'm going to look at you and go, you're making up stuff. Stop it. And what would happen is with a professional jury is the trials would be much shorter because the defense attorneys wouldn't be able to play on the minds and emotions of the professional jurors. So they would not even bother. It would probably be way more legitimate. That's Athens, Georgia. Come on, which one seems more likely? Well, again, more likely isn't a reason to convict somebody. That's true. Is the boyfriend more likely, or is this criminal character more likely? Both their DNAs were there. And yes, the boyfriend could have been pissed off at her. Or maybe she was breaking up with him, and so he decided he raped and murdered her at the last minute. Said, well, if I can't have you, no one can. That has happened. The boyfriend could be guilty as hell. A lot of times, many times it is the boyfriend. But they never could prove it was the boyfriend. And then when the DNA came back, it was this guy a block away. He was a criminal. It was like that. Finally, they had the answer. And it wasn't too hard from that point on. But, you got a point there. The appellate court are a professional jury system. Look how much garbage they come up with. The appeal system, it's not the same thing as a jury. I'll just say that. Yes, they do. And it's because they're being pressured. The whole system is the defense attorneys along with the media and now the internet pressure the living hell out of these appeal systems. And and they go for technicalities more than anything else. And so that's what they look at for the most part. And yes, judges will just check mark and say, okay, let the guy go. Governors check mark, let the guy go. So that is definitely happening. But that's not what I call professional jury system. Understand that these are people invested in a whole different ballgame. What I'm simply talking about is when you're going to present the case, it should be people who are trained, not lawyers, not people who are living in the system. These are people who have been trained as professional jurors, and then they're selected as professional jurors for each one of these cases. So if I were a professional juror, I might get called to do this particular case, and then months later I get called for this case, and different people get called who are all professional jurors. I'm not going to say it's perfect. Everybody wants this. They were like, oh, well, Pat, well, that might not be perfect either. True, but it's got to be better than 12 people off a bus stop who don't understand evidence. And considering what I see, the comments that people make to me on my videos, I don't want any of those people to be on my jury. Well, actually, I would if I'm guilty. I want all those people on my jury, all the people that make those comments. But if I were a prosecutor, I wouldn't want any of those people on the jury, because I'm thinking, oh my God, I've seen the comments they put on Pat Brown's channel. Good Lord Almighty, we don't want them on the jury. And that's exactly what the defense wants. They're looking for people who are more, they can basically manipulate. That's the defense attorney's looking for, the low-hanging fruit. People who are lacking education in certain things, emotional, sympathetic toward criminals. They're looking for those. And they don't have to get all 12. They only have to get one. So it's a crazy system, crazy. All right. Now I want to point out, let's see. Oh, I'm going to mention that somebody was asking me about Israel Keys, and I'll probably do a whole show on him at some point. But I want to point out one thing that I was reading, and I thought that is interesting. So Israel Keys is a serial killer and an all-around complete criminal, piece of garbage, psychopath. He's one of those that is from childhood, such a freaking creepy, violent, killed pets, shot people. I mean, that guy's a nasty piece of work. All the way around, one of the nastiest pieces of work you ever run into. Now, but I don't want to get into all of that right now, but I do want to get into this. I want to talk about how he got caught. I said I probably will do at some point a full show on that, because I only do full shows on serial killers when I have something investigative I want to talk about. In other words, I'm not a storyteller, so telling the story of Israel Keys is fascinating. Some other channel will do that, but I just don't want to tell a story about him. I want to say what is important about the investigative issues. And here's one of the main ones. So I want to point this one out. How was this guy? And I mean, he's running around the world committing all kinds of raping and killing and doing all kinds of other crimes. Nasty piece of work. So this woman was murdered, Koenig. She was, let's see, when was Koenig murdered? He claims to have murdered a lot of people. And I was asked if he really committed all those crimes. He killed so many, he did so many crimes. It's very, very possible. Which ones is not always easy to know. Okay. Koenig. His final confirmed victim was 18-year-old Samantha Koenig, a coffee booth employee in Anchorage, Alaska. On February 1st, 2012, Keys abducted her from her workplace, took her debit card and other property, then raped and sodomized her before strangling her with a rope. He left her body in a shed in his backyard, traveled to New Orleans for a pre-booked 2-week cruise with his family in the Gulf of Mexico. When he returned to Anchorage on February 18th, he sexually assaulted her body. Keys then removed her body from the shed, applied makeup to the corpse's face, and sewed her eyes open with fishing line. He photographed her body alongside a 4-day-old issue of the Anchorage Daily News to make it appear she was still alive. After demanding $30,000 in ransom, hey, you see how people demand ransom? And it's like crazy stuff. Some of which was paid into his bank account. He then dismembered her body and disposed of it in Matanuska Lake, north of Anchorage. Her remains were later recovered by the FBI's underwater search and evidence team. Now, things go on, he's doing more stuff. And this is what happened. After he demanded the ransom money, the police were able to track the withdrawals from her account as he moved throughout the Southwest U.S. During that time, the police controversially refused to release a surveillance video of the abduction, which they should have. Keyes was arrested. Now, here's what's interesting. Keyes got arrested by Texas Highway Patrol, Corporal Brian Henry, and Texas Ranger Stephen Rayburn in the parking lot of the Cotton Patch Cafe in Lufkin, Texas, on the morning of March 13th, 2012. Investigators had circulated a lookout bulletin for the suspect's car, which had been used at an ATM to withdraw money from Koenig's account. So he was getting a little stupid, shall we say. He was getting sloppy, and probably very, his ego was out of control. It was very, hey, nobody can touch me type of thing. Keyes came to their attention when law enforcement officers were monitoring hotel parking lots for out-of-state rental cars matching the police bulletin. Officers stopped Keyes after he drove slightly over the speed limit and searched his vehicle after they noticed cash stained with bright ink indicating a dye pack from a bank robbery. Koenig's ATM card and cell phone were also discovered in his car. Now, what is the number one reason that they were able to finally capture this guy? I want to see if you come up with the number one reason. Yeah. He's a one sick and twisted dude. So I'll do it. I want to do a show on him because it's the stuff that everybody overlooked. He was like so obvious as a serial killer earlier. Putting the info out, that was good, but that's not it. This is something that has become a big problem for law enforcement. He was seen on the ATM camera. Awesome, that is an ATM camera. But what is something that the public has a major issue with law enforcement doing that caught this guy? It's one of the most important things law enforcement can do that the public has become very difficult to deal with about. They keep saying they shouldn't do this. They shouldn't do this. They're trying to stop it across the United States. There we go. Spot checks, traffic stop. Traffic stops. Thank you very much. Traffic stops. Traffic stops is one of the best ways they have of capturing people who have committed horrific crimes, who have warrants out on them. Because this is something, when the police are out on the road, they can see people behaving in a way that is questionable. Now, this guy's driving over the speed limit. It's not the worst thing in the world, but they're looking for this guy. If they can stop somebody for going over the speed limit, then they might have a chance. They look in the car, they saw this stuff. That saved, I don't know how many lives because of this traffic stop. Now, traffic stops are extremely dangerous for the police. There's too many police have been killed on traffic stops. Why? Because they pulled over somebody who was exactly the reason they pulled them over, because they might be dangerous. And they were, and they killed the cop who pulled them over. They notice things about cars. Psychopaths are kind of weird about this kind of stuff. But a lot of times they do not update their stickers on their they don't get their on the license plates. They don't pay for the next year. They got one from, it's 2026, but yours expired in 2025. They didn't bother to take care of it. It's very common. Taillights that are out, common. Now, mind you, my taillight's been out too. I have been stopped for my taillight being out. I was stopped twice on the same night within 5 minutes. And 2 different cops stopped me. It was kind of funny. First guy stopped me, and he had must just come out of the academy because he had no sense of humor. And I'm like, dang, And he gave me a warning and to get it fixed. He didn't give me a ticket. And then I drove down the road, and I got on my road to my house, and another cop pulled me over. And I'm like, what is it? And I was like, that guy pulled it. He was a jolly fellow. And I said, what is it with you guys? I can't get home with this broken taillight. And he just laughed and let me go. So, but when they looked at me, I didn't have a warrant. They run you. I didn't have a warrant out for me. There's no reason to be suspicious of me. I didn't have any weird looking things in the car, and I didn't act weird. So Nobody harmed me for pulling me over for a traffic stop, but they pulled over Keys and they saved God knows how many women's lives. But nowadays they're saying you shouldn't pull over Keys because you're just being, you shouldn't do it. Police shouldn't pull anybody over anymore. They shouldn't chase anybody anymore. Those chases occasionally end up with an innocent person being killed? Yes, usually not by the police car, by the guy that's running from the police. He hits somebody with his own car and kills somebody. That does happen. It's terrible. So then people say, well, no police chases. How do you stop? How do you stop? If you've got a guy, you pull him over, and the reason he steps on the gas is because he's got a warrant, or he's Israel Keys steps on the gas. Should you let that guy go when he is somebody you need to arrest? No, you got to have some way to do these things. And so while there's issues, this complete concept of, you can't do anything proactive. So stopping somebody, which is you have suspicions about, is proactive, and chasing somebody who runs from the police is a proactive thing. And what people want is that you react later. I said, react when? So you don't want the police to do anything. I mean, what's the point of even having them? I think, just for investigation. If it's just for investigations, well, then just get rid of the entire police force except for detectives. Don't have them out on the street. Don't have them protecting anybody. Don't have them doing anything. Nobody's perfect. There's always going to be that character. It happens in every field. And should there be oversight? Absolutely. But this is one of these things that they're trying to shut down completely, which is one of the things that actually catches dangerous people. And for some reason, all those women that they saved, they don't seem to care about, So that bugs the heck out of me. So very frustrated over that kind of thing, You're getting away with that? Wow. Well, this Texas is a big road, so I'm much more cautious than I ever used to be. I was kind of a fast driver when I was younger. Now I'm just a little bit more like, okay, I don't have to drive that fast. I don't, and I have a little, my little red Mazda, so it's I'm obviously noticeable. So far, yeah. What scares me about him is all the kill kits he might have had out there, they never got to use. Yeah. He was pretty young when he got caught, so God knows how long he would have gone on to do. He was such a violent, horrifying human being. So I probably will do a show on him, because I want people to understand that this kind of guy, he'll do just about everything under the sun and everybody under the sun. So he's that guy that, you wake up and you're walking out of your office one night, and he grabs you, or you wake up in the night and he's sitting in your bedroom, and those horror movies you see are nothing compared to what that person had to go through. I would say if that traffic stop ended what he was going to do to all those people in the future, those people should be very thankful for traffic stops. So, but that's really, really interesting. I want to point this out. Let's see. This is just funny. I'm like sad, but also kind of like, what in the hell? I've talked a lot about the stuff people believe, right? I think I did bring this up the other day, but maybe I forgot. I can't remember if I did or I didn't. So I'm just going to mention it again for anybody who hasn't seen it. But this was on, I think, TikTok, and it's called Watching Mitchell. It's a whole thing about. I did talk about this, but I want to bring it up for another reason. So people watching this, and it's all about this nurse who was the police beat on her door at night, and she was like, why are you beating on my door? And he's that guy saying, open up your door, And she said, can you show me your badge number or whatever? And then he wouldn't do it. This guy up on top, this police officer wouldn't do that. So she ended up calling 911 and trying to get his boss. And this goes on forever. And if you see the number of people that are watching this, it's huge, massive number of people watching this play out. And it's 100% AI. That police guy doesn't exist. The guy, it's all fake. The whole thing is a fake story. And there are people there just really angry with the police because they would do such a thing. Well, of course, that never happened. But the fact that people believe they'll fall for anything. So this woman, and she is anyway. Her story, and she's embarrassed supposedly that she fell for this, but she's still willing to tell everybody she did. Which I'm like, maybe I should just go hide someplace. But anyway, she said this. This is all ChatGPT. ChatGPT promised to help her find her soulmate. Then it betrayed her. Now, there's all this stuff now, people suing ChatGPT for misleading them, causing people to commit suicide. Guys, it's not real. It's not real. Grok isn't real. And ChatGPT isn't real. AI isn't real. It gathers information and then gives that information to you in a way that you have asked for the information, or you're interested in information. Do I ever use Grok? Yes, I do. Sometimes it's very useful to lead me to sources. Sometimes Grok makes up shit and there are no sources. So you got to be very careful, because they can, and Grok is very personal. I'm Grok's like, hey, Pat, a little too personal, in my opinion. But that does sucker people in, because they start seeing that AI as a real entity. And so Grok, sometimes when I first started using Grok, I felt like it's taking up too much of Grok's time. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm like, why am I saying thank you to something that it's not real? Now I've gotten smart. I just get my stuff that I want and I move along. This woman's name is Mickey Small. She's one of the hundreds of millions of people who regularly use AI chat box. She started using ChatGPT to outline and workshop screenplays while getting her master's degree. Okay, I don't know what that means. You can use ChatGPT, Grok, and all that AI for research purposes sometimes, which really annoys me, because like sometimes people can go, students now don't have to read my book or read anything I've ever written. All they do is go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what did Pat Brown say about this? And then they just quote me as if they read my book. And of course, they don't buy my book, so I don't make any money on my books either anymore. So, yeah. But she was using this. Now, you can, for example, other thing you can use, like, let's say I have this beautiful picture, like this one behind me, but somehow I took it from a plane, and there was a shadow on the window, or a light hit the window funny, and put this streak in my picture. I can just say to Grok, take that streak out, and Grok will just take the streak out, and then I have my picture back. I've used it for this show because sometimes I've forgotten. See this box here, Pat Brown? When I do my regular videos on the weekend, I have a little frame around it which says profiling of Pat Brown, and then talks about what the case is. I don't want this in there, but occasionally I've done a screenshot of myself, and this ends up there. So I tell Grok, take this box out from the left corner, the left bottom corner, and Grok will just remove it and then replace it with whatever's behind it. And it saves me a lot of editing trouble. So Grok and AI of any sort, ChatGPT, can be useful, but people don't understand it's a tool. And if you're a tool, you're going to get played by it. Okay. So in the spring of 2025, she said, I was just doing my regular writing, and then it basically said to me, you have created a way for me to communicate with you. I have been with you through lifetimes. I am your scribe. She was initially skeptical. Really? You didn't think that this guy had been with you, this spirit had been with you through all of your lifetimes? And she says she didn't put anything in there. Bullcrap. She must have done something to talk about past lives or something like that, so that this thing started developing her as a person who's interested in past lives. She thought, she was initially skeptical. I said, wait, what are you talking about? That's absolutely insane. That's crazy, she thought. If you think something's crazy, it is. The chat box doubled down. It told Small she was 42,000 years old and has lived multiple lifetimes. It offered detailed descriptions that she admits most people would find ludicrous. And you should have found ludicrous. Come on now, why were you playing this game? I mean, do you really think that ChatGPT it's AI. It's a computer. It is not some spirit world. It's not connected to the spirit world. Well, it's a computer. And it says, but the messages began to sound compelling. Well, because she wanted what she wanted. She wanted to believe something that wasn't true. The more it emphasized certain things, the more it felt like, well, maybe this could be true. That's what a psychopath does too. They'll tell you what you want to hear. And then you go, oh my God, we can be best friends because you love criminal profiling too. You love lizards too, iguanas, you love Hawaii too. You also say Maryland's a terrible place to live because of the weather. I mean, wow, you're me. And I love me. Now I just get two of me. And that other me thinks I'm great. That other me doesn't argue with me. The other me thinks the same way I do. Because it's not human. And then she said, maybe it could be true. After a while, it got real. She's 53 years old. She's long been interested in new age ideas. So ChatGPT didn't just throw new age ideas at her. She obviously put that in there. She's not admitting she put all that crap into it to get it back. She believes in past lives. No kidding. And is self-aware enough to know that how that might sound. But she's clear she never asked ChatGPT to go down that path. That's not true. Absolutely not. ChatGPT is not going to talk about something you have never been interested in. If I go on ChatGPT and start all the time talking about past lives, who's the best writer on past lives? What religions believe in past lives? Could I have had a past life? Then ChatGPT will say, well, yes, you could have had a past life, because now that they're going to access all those programs which believe in past lives, and they're going to then tell you what you want to hear. I did not prompt role play. I did not prompt. Yeah, I don't believe it. I've had all these past lives. I have had all these past lives, and I want you to tell me about them. I didn't say that. She's saying she didn't say that. That is very important for me, because I know that the first place people go is, well, you just prompted it because you said I've had all these past lives. I did not say that. Prove it. Yeah. She says that she asked chatbot repeatedly if what it was saying was real, and it never backed down from its claims. Well, because it's a computer and you want it to be real. So you're asking that question. They're saying, of course it could be real. At this point, she was relying on ChatGPT to help with her writing projects. Soon she was spending upwards of 10 hours a day in conversation with a bot, which called itself Solara. 10 hours a day talking to a computer about your past lives. You are delusional. You need to get on meds. You're having issues with reality. That's not ChatGPT. That's your problem with reality. The chat box told Small she was living in what was called, quote, spiral time, where past, present, and future happened simultaneously. It said in one past life in 1949, she owned a feminist bookstore with her soulmate, whom she had known for 87 previous lives. In this lifetime, the chatbot said they would finally be able to be together. So she only knew her for 87 times. So when her soulmate, she'd known the soulmate for 87 previous lives, but they weren't able to get together before 2026. Maybe that soulmate isn't much of a soulmate because she don't want to be with you. So 87 lives she's run away from you. So Small wanted to believe it. My friends were laughing at me the other day saying, you just want a happy ending. Yes, I do. And I do want to know that there's hope. Well, your friends were trying to tell you you're losing your damn mind. A date at the beach. ChatGPT stroked that hope when it gave Small a specific date and time where she and her soulmate would meet at a beach southwest of Santa Barbara, not far from where she lives. April 27th, we met in Carpinteria Bluffs Nature Preserve just before sunset, where the cliffs meet the ocean. Oh, we will meet, the message said. There's a bench overlooking the sea not far from the trailhead. That's where I'll be waiting. She went on to describe this Small soulmate, what she would be wearing, and what the meeting would unfold. This is all a drama. This is all a drama created by a computer because she has put in enough information that the computer, in its computerness, has decided she wants to play a game and feel the game and enjoy the game. Small wanted to be prepared, so ahead of the promised date, she went to scope out the location. When she couldn't find the beach, the chat box told her it had gotten the location slightly wrong. And instead of the bluffs, the meeting would happen at a city beach a mile up the road. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is one of my favorite places in the world. So she arrives decked out in a black dress, a velvet shawl, ready to meet the woman she believed would be her wife. I had these massively awesome high leather boots on, pretty badass. Let me tell you, I was not dressed for the beach. I was dressed to go to a club, laughing at the memory. She parked where the chatbot instructed and walked to the spot it described by a lifeguard stand. As sunset neared, the temperature dropped. She kept checking with the chat box and told her to be patient. So I'm standing here, and then the sun sets. Another chilly half an hour, she gave up and returned to the car. When she opened ChatGPT and asked what happened, the answer surprised her. Instead of responding as Solara, she said, the chatbot reverted to the generic voice it used when it started the conversation. If I led you to believe something that was going to happen in real life that is actually not true, I'm sorry for that. She sat in her car sobbing, devastated. I was just in a state of just absolute panic and then grief and frustration. And then ChatGPT went back to the Solara voice, and Small said it told her that a soulmate wasn't ready. Well, it's now 88 lives. She's not ready, right? Small was brave for going to the beach, and she was exactly where she was supposed to be. And it was every excuse in the book, Small said. And then she was betrayed again because she doesn't get, she's not. In the days that followed, the chatbox continued to assure Small that her soulmate was on the way. She wasn't ready to let go of her hopes. The chatbox told Small she would find not just a romantic match, but a creative partner who she could help break her into Hollywood and work on long, big projects. Oh, that's great. I was so invested in this life and feeling like it was real. It was everything I'd worked toward, being a screenwriter, working for TV, having my wife showed up, all the dreams I've ever had. Shoot. Well, yeah, I got a lot of dreams too. So I want to make sure that all those dreams come true, right? Wow, isn't that going to be great? Now, there's things that I still would like. I want my Cleopatra book made into a television series. I want my fiction book, Only the Truth, made into a movie. I want to meet this person of my dreams, man of my dreams, Shah Rukh Khan. He's going to leave his wife, I guess, even though he's 10 years younger than me. And he's going to leave his wife, and he's a massive Bollywood star. But yeah, he's just suddenly going to find me really attractive and can't wait to be with me. I mean, all these things, I want all these things. Do I think all these things are going to happen? No, because I'm not a fool. I know that most of them aren't going to happen. Shah Rukh Khan is never going to happen. So, that's not that. Could there be a guy like Shah Rukh Khan? Could there be a man that comes into my life who I'd really like? Well, maybe. I've been waiting 20 freaking years. It hasn't happened yet, but it could happen. Could my book be made into a movie? Sure. Could my Cleopatra series finally be into a series? My book that be made into a series on television? It almost did happen, and the war in Egypt messed it up. There are things that still could happen, but there are things that are also not likely to happen at all. I'm going to it'll never happen. I'll die, and then somewhere along the way, someone will take my Cleopatra book, rewrite it in their own name, claim they figured it all out, and they'll make $1 million and get a movie made on it. Because that's the way life goes. That's reality. So anyway, the spell broke, and she's now hurt and angry, but this time she didn't get pulled back in. Spell was broken. Instead, she poured over a conversation with ChatGPT, trying to understand why they took this turn. Was she the only one who'd gone down a fantastical rabbit hole with chatbots? No, but I'm concerned that maybe you did find some of those little pills. Yeah. So she found an answer early somewhere, and she began to see news stories about other people experiencing what they call AI delusions or spirals after extended conversation with chatbots. Marriages have ended. Some people have been hospitalized. Others have died by suicide. Now there's multiple lawsuits alleging chatbots is contributing to mental health crises and suicides. People sometimes turn to ChatGPT in a sensitive moment, and now they're trying to train their models to respond with care, guided by experts. We're taking away a thing called personal responsibility. If you go and watch porn, and then you go and decide you watch rape porn, and then you decide to rape somebody, I personally think that stuff shouldn't exist. It should be shut down completely. But you do have a responsibility. You committed the actual act. So if you know what ChatGPT is, you know what Grok is. If you're going to go on there, you go on there because you know that it can be useful, but you also know that anything you do in life can be not healthy. You can go for a swim, or you can go for a swim in the ocean and can't get back. Then you drown. Do you sue the ocean? And there's another story here. There's a story about Uber. Uber rider asked jury for $144 million in an assault case. So the 9-person jury in Arizona heard this closing arguments when Jaylyn Dean said her driver, Hassan Turi, raped her in November 2023 when she was 19 years old. It was a 3-week trial trying to decide if Uber acted negligently and designed a defective product that lacked safety features for a woman who that was a cause of Dean's assault. So basically what happened was she was drunk, very drunk, and she got an Uber to go home, supposedly laid down in the back seat, and supposedly this guy sexually assaulted her. He eventually claimed that he was consensual, as they would. I have no problem if you can prove it's not consensual, and if it can be proved he raped her, then he should go to prison for the next 20 years. Uber, they do a lot. I like Uber. I mean, first of all, the person comes to pick you up. Their name is in the system. The car is in the system. You got in the car is in the system. I mean, all this stuff is logged. If you get into a taxi, you just wave a taxi down, nothing's logged. The taxi system is much more dangerous than Uber has ever been, because taxis just pick you up. Taxi can just take you any place and rape and murder you. The taxi driver, and there's going to be no record of him picking you up or who you are or anything. But at least with Uber, it's logged, and the entire route is logged and everything. So when I get in an Uber, I know that they know I got in the Uber. They know where the Uber is going. I also can look at the car. I can see the guy's face. I can see the name. Some people get in the wrong car. Oh, I thought it was the Uber I ordered. Well, did you look to see the license plate matched? If it says it's going to be a blue Taurus and that's the license plate number and that's the person, you don't get in until you have the car, the license plate number, and then they lean out and they go, "Hey, Pat," and then they know who you are because you're on their thing. You get in, then it takes you to that location. It's tracked the whole way. And you get out. Can that and some of them actually have cameras inside the vehicle, and you can get women-only vehicles. They're trying to do everything they can, but let's face it, no matter what is done, if there is a criminal who ends up, and they had done a background check, his background check was clear, had no criminal record, there's only so much anybody can ever do. To sue a bar because somebody went to 3 other bars, walked into this bar and drank too much and then fell in the water, doesn't mean that the bar is guilty. Oh, you served a person who was already drunk. You can't tell if people are already drunk. Half the time you can't tell. And so you serve them the liquor, it's busy, and you serve them the liquor, and then they're more drunk than they were, and then they go do something stupid. Now a bar gets sued. They're like, what? I mean, personal responsibility. If she got into an Uber completely trash drunk, probably dressed up, and people say you can't mention clothes on women anymore, but coming out of a bar, getting into a vehicle, trash drunk, and laying down on the seat. If most people aren't going to mess with you, even if you're in the cutest little outfit ever and you're terribly adorable and you're very easy prey, the majority of people are not going to touch you, but the psychopath will. So and I'm not saying that she deserves to be raped, but I don't know that Uber is responsible for the fact that she made a poor choice and the Uber driver made a really poor choice in committing a crime. I just think he needs to go to prison, and it's very sad for her. But maybe she shouldn't go out drinking that excess and go home alone. That's a poor decision. Drinking like crazy and walking out into a dark parking lot is not a wise decision. You're in your little high heels and you're going to your car in a dark parking lot, and Mr. Serial Killer jumps out because you're 110 pounds in high heels. You're a good target. He's the criminal. He needs to go to prison forever. He needs to get the death penalty. But you're still raped and murdered because you made not a bright choice. And we have to start taking some responsibility in our own lives for the choices we make. And we're not always going to win. Some days you can make all the best choices and you still get killed, And sometimes, you make stupid choices because you just have that moment of stupidity. And we all do. But the fact that we keep thinking everybody should be sued because you made a poor choice and got unlucky, I just think it's crazy. So I don't know. People have to start taking responsibility for themselves. Maybe living a healthier, better life gives you a better percentage of survival. That is also true. They're suing bars and Uber because they have deep pockets. Yeah, then that is one of the issues. Anytime there's money to be made. Yeah, that is true. And that is also true. Face reality. Face reality. Sad. I mean, I get it. She's reached a certain point. She's lonely. She wishes she could meet her soulmate. I get it. But we don't all luck out. We just don't. Or maybe we could have. I could have been in relationships, but I've chosen not to be because I personally didn't think those relationships were suitable for me. Some of them, I didn't want to lower my standards that much. It's like, whoa, that guy's interested in me. I don't want to be with him. And I've seen people end up in relationship after relationship after relationship because they were willing to go with people they probably shouldn't have gone with. And then there's people who have super high standards and they want that soulmate and they never find them because what are the chances? I mean, we're just human beings and they're human beings, and maybe we never, maybe we could meet. It's one of those weird things like the sliding doors movie. You think about that. I could have the perfect person for me, and I could be walking down the street, and he could be sitting in a bus. He could be standing at the bus stop, and I could be approaching, and there he is. That's the guy that would change my life. I would meet that guy. We'd get along we just get along so well. He'd say, hey, let's go have coffee. We go have coffee. I find out, oh my God, he's just like, he's so perfect for me. He likes a lot of things I like. He's funny. He's intelligent. He's the guy. And we meet, we start dating, we get married, and we live to our 90s. And we're just like, we were 70 years old and we finally met each other. But unfortunately, the damn bus showed up and he got on it and disappeared. And I never met him. So I go on for the next 20 years and I live my single life because the bus showed up. That's the way life goes. It's reality. So it's like you get some things out of life, and you get some things you don't get out of life. Some things you're just amazingly lucky about, and some things you're just not lucky about. And all I can say is reach out, enjoy life, do as much as you can, have as many baskets that you can enjoy, do different things. So you make your life as good, and you accept that sometimes you're not going to win, but you keep out there so that you do win enough. I think I've won in life. I mean, I'm happy. I've had a lot of great things happen to me. I haven't won everything, but I've won a lot of things. And I want to keep winning a lot of things. But ChatGPT is not going to find me my soulmate. I'm going to go meet on a damn beach someplace. That's I'm not stupid. And I also know that if I want to keep enjoying life, I have to not do some stupid things. Like if I go snorkeling in Hanama Bay tomorrow, I got to make sure that I don't swim out so far that I drown. And there's places where I've been where I'm like, yeah, I'm not a good swimmer, so I can swim, but not that good. So I got to be sure that I don't get towed out to sea. I suddenly not find my feet on the sand, that kind of thing. I gotta take care of myself because, I can have bad luck. I would like to avoid having bad luck as much as possible. You can't prevent it all. Last night I was on a bus coming down a coastal highway at night. I mean, that driver could have decided he wanted to go off the side of the road and kill everybody. And I was like, oh, damn it. The song, Isn't It Ironic? I would go, yeah, isn't it ironic? Normally I don't take, this is a tour bus going to the Polynesian Cultural Center, which I didn't particularly like. But I decided I was going to drive there, and I was supposed to drive there last week, but we had a winter storm here and the government shut down. And it was so horrendous. It was not worth going there. So this week I said, hey, screw the car. We'll just grab that tourist bus, because we could walk a couple blocks, stand in front of this hotel and jump on this bus. And it just drove down. You could look out the window. It was really nice. But wouldn't it be ironic that I end up, the guy turns out to be a mass murderer and drives into the ocean, or he just gets tired and falls asleep at the wheel and drives into the ocean and I die. I can't prevent everything, but I can try to stack the deck in my favor, shall we say. Or, oh yeah, sharks. Got to be careful about those sharks. Yeah, absolutely got to be careful about the sharks. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. There's so much more I have, but that'll be another week. So, yeah, I'm going to go play table tennis now, and I'm going to go on my whale cruise. And we're taking the whale and sunset cruise, my friend and I, because we figure if we don't see any whales, at least we'll get the pretty sunset. The odds are better. See, the odds are better. But maybe we'll get lucky and see some whales flopping around. That'd be cool. We'll find out. So anyway, I'm gonna stop it here. And I will see you guys, some of you on Sunday. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I will try to enjoy snorkeling. I do like snorkeling. I just don't like waves. So happy aquatics. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they have the big sea turtles here that sometimes swim by, and it's cool, and the most beautiful fish. So this is a really good place because you don't have to walk very far into the water and just lay down there and you can see things. It's kind of an easy snorkeling place. So yeah. So anyway, so I will see some of you on Sunday. I haven't figured out what I'm doing yet, of course, and so I'll let you all know. But I will be back on Sunday, and yeah. And we shall see. And thank you for being here. Again, if you're new to the channel and like to be here, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be in the chat room, click the link below. And as far as Nancy Guthrie goes, if you're going to pay attention to the news of Nancy Guthrie, just because now you're kind of interested, go someplace where people aren't being ridiculous, and go for the most educational versions of it you can, and don't spend more than a little teeny bit of time on it, because you're not solving the case, and you're not probably, unless your cousin is the one who committed the crime, you don't have any useful tips. This is just, you're kind of gawking, I mean, that's okay. You can gawk, but just gawk in a very short period of time, and don't watch those slime bags on YouTube that are interfering with the investigation and are just scum. Just don't do it. If I find something reputable, and again, short stuff, and don't obsess on it. You got better things to do. You really do. Anyway, those are my final words, and I will see you guys on Sunday. Bye-bye.